Chosen one, pause for a moment and recognize this. You are not here by coincidence. Heaven has orchestrated this exact second with your name written on it. You didn't click by curiosity, you were summoned. This is a divine appointment, a kairos moment, arriving not with noise, but with purpose. Something is shifting, not tomorrow, not next year, but now, today, tonight, or in the hours ahead. Anointed one, there comes a time when God begins to move quietly before he moves visibly, and your spirit recognizes it long before the blessing manifests. What you're feeling, the pull, the pressure, the anticipation, is not imagination, it's confirmation. Heaven is positioning you for a supernatural transfer, a breakthrough tied to destiny itself. The word says in Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3 that the vision is for an appointed time, and though it waits, it will not lie. And chosen one, that appointed time has begun unfolding over your life. So take a breath and still your soul. You are standing on the threshold of a transformation that will elevate you not just in wealth, but in wisdom, authority, and identity. This is sacred timing. This is divine revelation. This is the moment you rise, quietly, but undeniably. Chosen one, hear this in the depths of your spirit. What is unfolding in your life right now is not ordinary increase, and it is not random favor. This is a divine transfer, a sacred shift, the kind that heaven orchestrates in silence before earth ever recognizes it. Yes, financial breakthrough may be part of it, but what you are being entrusted with goes far beyond currency. You are receiving a mantle. Wealth, in the hands of the unprepared, becomes a burden, but in the hands of the chosen, it becomes a weapon for purpose, a tool for impact, an assignment wrapped in abundance. That is why heaven does not rush when it prepares you for increase. Heaven refines you first. You may not have understood the delays, the denials, the seasons where you sowed faithfully and reaped nothing visible. You may have even felt forgotten. But anointed one, you were not being overlooked, you were being prepared. I say this not just from revelation, but from experience. I've walked through those seasons where I was giving, serving, obeying, yet nothing in my life seemed to reflect the promise. I remember years where my hands were busy with obedience, but my accounts were empty. And I questioned God, if I am called, why am I still struggling? And the answer did not come in thunder. It came in quiet conviction. You are not ready for what you are asking for. Not yet. I am strengthening you for the weight you cannot see. Because wealth is not just about increase, it is about capacity. If God enlarges your provision before enlarging your character, the blessing becomes a burden. That is why many rise quickly and collapse even faster. They sought success without structure, prosperity without preparation, visibility without vision. But you, chosen one, heaven is doing something different with you. This increase is not coming to soothe your ego. It is coming to strengthen your assignment. It is not tied to applause. It is tied to purpose. And this is why secrecy matters. You do not announce a seed the moment it breaks the soil, because the early stages of growth are fragile. The sprout is tender. The root system is still forming. That is where silence becomes strategy. Not secrecy out of fear, but stewardship out of wisdom. There are seasons where God hides you to protect you. There are blessings that begin in quiet so they can survive the noise. I learned that firsthand. When I started to see a little progress, when opportunities began to open, I told everyone, friends, family, acquaintances, and suddenly, criticism, doubt, jealousy, and pressure flooded me before the blessing had taken shape. And I realized, sometimes the danger isn't the devil. Sometimes the danger is disclosure. That is why this message exists. Because the rise of the chosen must be governed by discipline. If you cannot carry the blessing in silence, you will not be able to sustain it in the spotlight. Hear this with sobriety. The moment blessing arrives is not the finish line. It is the proving ground. When your hands finally hold what your heart prayed for, heaven watches something deeper than your bank account. Heaven watches your posture. Will you remain humble? Will you remain teachable? Will you remain anchored? It is easy to worship when you are waiting. It is harder to worship when you are winning. Anointed one, this is the hidden test many fail. They think the danger lies in lack, but the danger lies in abundance. Poverty tests your faith. Wealth tests your integrity. And that is why this divine transfer requires silence. Silence is not hiding. Silence is alignment. It keeps you focused. It keeps you listening. It keeps you grounded. There is a verse written in the ancient scrolls, in Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3, that speaks of appointed time, a time when the vision looks delayed but is not denied. That is where you stand now, at the threshold of fulfillment. But before manifestation comes management. Before increase comes instruction. This is the part many ignore. God does not just bless you. He trains you. He tests you. He trims you. So when you rise, you will not be shaken. Chosen one, some of the people around you cannot go where you are going, not because they are evil, but because your elevation reveals their stagnation. Your growth exposes their comfort. Your change confronts their complacency. Some were comfortable with you small. Because small, you did not challenge them. Small, you did not convict them. Small, you did not surpass them. That is why silence becomes necessary. Not everyone can handle your harvest. Not everyone deserves access to your increase. There are individuals who clap for you until you pass them. Then celebration becomes competition. Admiration becomes envy. Support becomes sabotage. This is why heaven trains the chosen to rise quietly, to build privately, to anchor deeply. Because the calling on your life requires not only abundance, but discernment. You're not just being blessed, you're being entrusted. Entrusted with wealth that carries purpose. Entrusted with wisdom that carries influence. Entrusted with a mantle that carries responsibility. And this is the supernatural shift. You are not just stepping into income. You are stepping into assignment. You are not just gaining wealth. You are gaining weight, spiritual weight. And that weight demands humility, discipline, and silence. I know this because I lived the opposite. Once I rose too loudly, too quickly, with too many spectators, and the weight crushed what my pride had built. I learned, if wealth elevates you before character anchors you, the blessing becomes the breaking. But you, chosen one, are different. Your preparation has produced depth, and because of that, your blessing will not break you. It will build you. It will shape you. It will establish you. Chosen one, now that you understand the weight of this calling, you must also understand the strategy of this season. Because when heaven releases increase, it rarely announces it with noise. It unfolds in whispers. It moves through alignment. It flows through discernment. There is a reason God trains the chosen to walk quietly, not to mute their victory, but to magnify their wisdom. Because the greatest dangers you will face in this season will not come from lack, but from exposure. The moment you rise, eyes rise with you, motives rise with you, expectations rise with you, and not all of them are pure. There are people who loved you when you were accessible, but will resent you when you become elevated. There are relationships that survived struggle, but cannot survive success. There are voices that once encouraged your growth, but will now compete with it. And anointed one, none of this is to create fear, it is to create awareness. Awareness is the anchor of stewardship. Awareness is the shield of abundance. Because when God blesses you, the blessing reveals hearts. Your heart, their heart, and the hearts of those around you. Wealth magnifies what is already there. If honor was in the heart, honor increases. If envy was in the heart, envy multiplies. If humility was in the heart, humility deepens. Money is not the source of evil, it is the mirror of it. And wealth is not the creator of virtue, it is the amplifier of it. That is why heaven asks the chosen to rise quietly. Humility is not weakness. Silence is not fear. Restraint is not insecurity. It is strategy. It is maturity. It is spiritual intelligence. Let me speak to you personally. I once thought success would make life simpler. I thought money would eliminate conflict. I believed abundance would guarantee peace. But I learned quickly, abundance does not remove pressure, it shifts it. Suddenly, the problem isn't getting in the door, it is choosing which door to enter. The challenge isn't finding opportunity, it is discerning which opportunities are holy and which are traps wrapped in applause. And opportunities can be demonic in disguise. Access can be sabotage dressed as support. Not everyone who reaches for you wants to lift you. Some want to link themselves to you, not because they honor the calling, but because they covet the harvest. So hear this. Discernment will protect you more than celebration ever could. When you get rich, and you will, it is not the time to widen your circle. It is the time to refine it. Some people loved you as long as you were equal. They applauded as long as you were behind them. But the moment you rise above their comfort level, their cheers become questions. Their encouragement becomes criticism. That is why silence is not secrecy, it is safeguarding. Not everyone deserves to know what God is doing in your life. Not everyone needs to hear about your investments, your business, your shifts. Not everyone can handle the revelation that heaven has chosen you. And here's the divine irony. It is often not strangers you must guard against, but those closest to your proximity. Familiarity breeds entitlement. They believe access is owed. They believe blessing is shared. But calling is personal. And the instruction God gives you may offend those who expect inclusion. That is why the chosen must learn to separate affection from assignment. You can love people without letting them lead you. You can honor people without letting them hold you. You can bless people without letting them drain you. A wealthy spirit protects boundaries. A mature spirit protects vision. A chosen spirit protects peace. Because peace is part of the prosperity package. If your bank account grows but your peace diminishes, that is not kingdom wealth, that is worldly weight. When the blessing comes from God, peace increases with provision, wisdom rises with resources. I have lived through the opposite. I chased success without surrender, I built without boundaries. And when the breakthrough came, I was surrounded not by support, but by hands that wanted access, not accountability. It drained me, it distracted me, it diluted me, and I learned what I now share with you. When God elevates you, He teaches you to be selective, not arrogant, not distant, not prideful, selective, because the blessing is holy, the assignment is sacred, the calling is costly. Chosen one, you are not being blessed for applause. You are being blessed for impact. The resources coming into your life are not meant to decorate your ego. They are meant to fund your purpose. This is why you must move differently. When the world boasts, you build. When the world flaunts, you focus. When the world announces, you align. Because your wealth is not a trophy, it is a tool. A tool that will break generational lack, uproot poverty mentality, create opportunities, vision, build legacy, and yes, elevate your life. But more importantly, expand your impact. Hear this clearly. The divine transfer approaching your life is not only about your comfort, it is about your calling. And that calling demands character, because without character, wealth becomes chaos. With character, wealth becomes kingdom. This is why silence is part of the strategy, not to hide the blessing, but to protect the foundation until the structure can withstand pressure. Chosen one, now that you understand the sacred strategy of silence and the weight of stewardship, you must also understand the battlefield that awaits you on the other side of blessing. Because this may shock you, but lack is not your greatest enemy. Mediocrity is not your greatest threat. Delay is not your biggest battle. Success is. Increase is. Promotion is. When wealth arrives, it does not arrive alone. It brings exposure, it carries attention, it attracts motives you never had to discern before. And this is where many fall, not in famine but in harvest. Because the human heart is more tempted by comfort than crisis. It is more seduced by applause than adversity. When you were overlooked, it was easy to stay humble. When you were underestimated, it was easy to stay focused. But when the blessings start flowing, when the business grows, when the doors open, when the account multiplies, the real question emerges: can you remain anchored when you finally rise? Because the enemy understands something most people ignore. He cannot stop the blessing, but he can try to spoil it. He can't block your wealth, but he can corrupt it. He can't deny your elevation, but he can dilute your purpose. He can't prevent your influence, but he can poison it. And his most effective weapon in your wealthy season is not attack, it is distraction. It is noise. It is attention. You asked for abundance, but abundance demands maturity. Abundance demands discipline. Abundance demands sacrifice you never had to make in scarcity. Because wealth requires boundaries. Boundaries with people. Boundaries with time. Boundaries with opportunities. Boundaries with emotions. Not everything deserves access to your next level. Not everyone deserves a seat at the upgraded table. Read this slowly. Elevation exposes intention. The moment you rise, some will approach you not because they honor you, but because they want proximity to what blesses you. They want your platform, not your purpose. They want your success, not your sacrifice. They want the fruit, not the sowing. And anointed one, this is where many chosen ones stumble, not because they lacked blessing, but because they lacked boundaries. You must learn to separate loyalty from leeching, support from surveillance, encouragement from entitlement, covenant from convenience. I learned this the hard way. There was a season when everything I prayed for started happening. Doors opened, opportunities emerged, resources flowed. But instead of building boundaries, I expanded access. I pulled everyone with me. I trusted too widely. I gave too openly. And what happened? The same people who clapped for my elevation resented my momentum. The same mouths that praised my blessings questioned my decisions. The same hands I fed felt entitled to my harvest. I learned then, betrayal rarely comes from strangers. It comes from familiarity, not because they hate you, but because your growth confronts their stagnation. Your increase becomes a mirror. Your rise becomes a reminder. And instead of celebrating what God is doing in you, they mourn what God has not done in them. And that is why God teaches the chosen to move quietly, not to hide wealth, but to guard peace, protect vision, and preserve purpose. Because your elevation is not entertainment. Your breakthrough is not gossip. Your prosperity is not a spectacle. It is a sacred trust. Let me make this practical. Not everyone should know. When you get a new house, when you launch a business, when you secure an investment, when you receive a promotion. Why? Because revelation before readiness invites warfare before maturity. You don't announce seeds, you guard them. You don't parade blueprints, you protect them. Every structure built too quickly collapses. Every blessing revealed too soon is vulnerable. Even the sun rises in silence. Even the Messiah arrived quietly. Even destiny unfolds discreetly. So when God releases wealth, move strategically, rise gracefully, build discreetly, not because you fear loss, but because you honor gain. Now, let's address another truth. Wealth does not change you, it reveals you. If greed is there, it will surface. If pride is there, it will swell. If envy is there, it will multiply. But if gratitude is there, it will expand. If stewardship is there, it will deepen. If humility is there, it will strengthen. This is why the divine waiting season, the silence, the pruning, the preparation was necessary. God wasn't punishing you. He was protecting you. He wasn't denying you. He was developing you. Because a blessing that arrives before character is ready becomes a burden. And heaven does not release holy wealth into immature hands. The chosen are refined before they are rewarded. And now in this season, you are finally ready. You will not be crushed by what God gives you. You will not be corrupted by abundance. You will not be consumed by access. Because now you know, wealth is responsibility, success is stewardship, and prosperity is purpose, not performance. Chosen one, hear me. Heaven is preparing you, not just to receive the blessing, but to survive it, to remain grounded, to remain grateful, to remain guided. Chosen one, now that you recognize the battlefield of abundance and the necessity of boundaries, we must confront something even deeper, the internal war that prosperity awakens. Because wealth does not simply bring external challenges, it triggers internal shifts. It tests motives. It exposes wounds. It uncovers insecurities. You may not expect this, but sometimes the most dangerous reaction to wealth is not arrogance, it is amnesia. Not forgetting how to budget, not forgetting how to invest, but forgetting who sustained you. There is a subtle seduction that arrives with success, the temptation to believe, even quietly, I did this. My grind got me here. My strategy opened these doors. But hear me, heaven will not bless you so you can worship your hustle. Favor is not the fruit of ambition, it is the evidence of alignment. And if you forget the God who opened the door becomes a snare. That is why Scripture speaks of seasons and timing, because divine timing humbles human effort. It reminds us that harvest is holy, not random. It was Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 that declared that to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven, meaning your overflow is not accidental. It was appointed, and what is appointed cannot be achieved through ego, only through obedience. Now, let's be honest. Success feels good. Increase feels validating. Provision feels rewarding. But if your identity becomes tied to your income, your worth becomes tied to your wealth. And that is a fragile existence. Because markets shift, business changes, people come and go, but identity anchored in God remains unshaken. So hear this clearly. If the blessing inflates your pride, it will shrink your purpose. If the blessing becomes about proving something, it ceases to be a blessing. It becomes bondage. I learned this intimately. There was a season in my life when breakthrough finally came after years of labor, sacrifice, and silent prayers. The accounts increased. The opportunities expanded. The influence grew. And for a moment, I breathed relief. I thought the struggle was over. I thought the tests were done, but I soon realized scarcity tested my faith. Success tested my character. And the second test was far more subtle. People celebrated, applauded, praised. My name was mentioned in rooms it had never entered before. But deep inside I felt a shift, a subtle temptation to enjoy the applause more than the assignment, to lean on my achievements rather than my anointing. It was intoxicating in the quietest, most dangerous way. And then, just as quietly, conviction came. In prayer, in a moment of stillness, no lights, no audience, just me and God. And I heard, not audibly, but unmistakably, return. Return to who you were before the applause. Return to the posture of dependence. Return to the secret place. That moment saved me. Because prosperity can drown you in noise, clarity only returns in silence. This is why some blessings arrive quietly like the sunrise, not to hide glory, but to preserve humility. Because the chosen cannot afford to confuse the gift with the giver. And anointed one, this is why you must prepare now, before the wealth arrives, before the elevation unfolds, before the audience appears. Prepare your heart to remain bowed when your hands are full. Prepare your spirit to remain surrendered when your name is honored. Prepare your mind to remain disciplined when opportunities multiply, because prosperity doesn't make you someone new. It magnifies who you already are. So God is shaping your patience, your discernment, your stewardship, your humility, not to delay the blessing, but to ensure it does not destroy you. This is why delays are divine. Not punishment, but protection. Not rejection, but preparation. If the wealth came years ago, you might have chased applause. You might have ignored red flags. You might have trusted wrong hands. But now, you will recognize manipulation. You will discern motives. You will guard peace. You will steward with wisdom, because you have been trained in silence, in obscurity, in discipline, and whether you realize it or not, you are dangerous now, not because of wealth, but because of wisdom, not because of access, but because of awareness, not because of the platform, but because of the posture, a posture that says, I will rise, but I will not forget. I will prosper, but I will not boast. I will advance, but I will not abandon the one who brought me here. Now listen carefully. When wealth comes, your language must change, not to impress, but to reflect gratitude. Your habits must change, not to perform, but to protect purpose. Your associations must change, not to judge, but to safeguard calling. Because chosen ones do not rise to be seen, they rise to be stewarded. They do not flaunt elevation, they manage it. They do not broadcast wealth, they build with it. And they know this truth. Legacy is louder than lifestyle. Impact is louder than income. Kingdom is louder than clout. So while others chase validation, you will chase vision. While others compete for attention, you will contend for assignment. And while others spend to be seen, you will invest to be effective. This is your separation. This is your distinction. This is your calling. You are not rising for applause. You are rising for alignment. You are not being blessed for vanity. You are being blessed for victory. And that victory begins within. Chosen one, now that we have walked through the internal battle of abundance, we must turn to another sacred dimension, the purpose behind the blessing. Because if you misunderstand the purpose, you will mishandle the prosperity. Heaven is not preparing you for wealth simply so you can have more. Heaven is preparing you so you can do more. Your calling is not accumulation, it is assignment. Your prosperity is not merely personal, it is generational. Your breakthrough is not just financial, it is functional. You are not simply receiving money, you are being entrusted with influence, with reach, with authority. And authority is not about conquest, it is about stewardship. Most people assume wealth is freedom, but for the chosen, wealth is responsibility. It is not merely comfort, it is capacity. Capacity to build, capacity to restore, capacity to uplift, capacity to change realities, not just your own, but the realities of those connected to your calling. Because the blessing coming to you is not designed to terminate at you, it is designed to flow through you. You are not a reservoir, you are a river, a vessel, a distributor, a conduit of kingdom resources. The world teaches ownership. Heaven teaches stewardship. The world asks, how much can I keep? Heaven asks, how far can it reach? And this is where perspective shifts everything. Because the chosen do not measure wealth by accumulation, they measure it by assignment. Impact becomes the metric. Legacy becomes the lens. Purpose becomes the priority. Let me share something from my own journey. There was a season where I believed the goal was to escape lack, to live comfortably, to experience ease. And when breakthrough finally came, I did what many do. I paid bills, upgraded my environment, enjoyed the relief. But the relief didn't feel complete. Something inside me whispered, there is more, not more luxury, more purpose. The blessing felt incomplete until it began to serve someone beyond myself. The moment I helped someone who had no means to repay me, the blessing felt holy. The moment I paid for groceries for a struggling mother, it felt sacred. The moment I invested in someone's dream, it felt ordained. Because wealth without purpose feels empty, but wealth with assignment feels divine. And this is the key. God is not blessing you to escape struggle. He is blessing you to become a solution. Not just to break your own chains, but to break chains for others. Not just to open doors for you, but to open doors for those behind you. Your prosperity is not a trophy. It is a key to unlock education, opportunity, healing, provision, restoration. For people you may never meet. This is why the chosen cannot afford to be loud. Because the louder you are, the more you attract parasites, not purpose. But when you move quietly, intentionally, strategically, you build impact while others are building image. Anointed one, hear me. You will not be known for what you flaunted. You will be known for what you funded. Your influence will not be measured in likes. It will be measured in lives. Those lifted, those inspired, those rescued. This is the silent assignment. This is the hidden glory. This is the reason for the restraint. Because you are not just rising, you are being prepared to steward a mantle that carries weight beyond your years. The blessing you are about to receive is not just for the present, it is for the future. It is for your children and your children's children. The chains you break will spare them battles you fought. The wisdom you gain will spare them mistakes you made. The discipline you build will spare them debts you carried. This is not wealth, it is inheritance. And inheritance is not measured by what you leave behind, but by what you set in motion. Hear this truth. Your prosperity is a seed, not just for you, but for a lineage, a legacy, a new normal. Others will say, no one in our family ever owned land until you. No one ever broke free from debt until you. No one ever built business until you. No one ever changed the narrative until you. You are the first, but you will not be the last. The blessing begins with you, but it will not end with you. And this is why heaven insists on pruning, on silencing, on refining, because this mantle cannot be mishandled. It carries weight, it carries purpose, it carries souls. Yes, souls, because every financial breakthrough God releases is connected to a spiritual assignment. Money feeds missions. Money funds ministries. Money supports deliverance. Money rescues the oppressed. Heaven does not pour wealth into the hands of the indifferent. Heaven pours wealth into the hands of the invested. And you, chosen one, are being positioned not just for comfort, but for calling. This is why you are set apart. Set apart from ego. Set apart from impulse. Set apart from clout. Because you are not being raised as a celebrity. You are being raised as a steward. And stewards build what outlives them. Businesses, schools, shelters, supply lines, opportunities. Your wealth will speak, but not to glorify you. It will speak to glorify the purpose you served. Chosen one, now that you understand the sacred purpose behind the blessing, it's time to confront the dimension few ever discern until the wealth arrives warfare. Because when heaven elevates you, hell notices. Not because you are weak, but because you are now dangerous. Financial breakthrough is not just a blessing. It is a battlefield, a shift in territory, a transfer of influence. And whenever territory changes hands, warfare intensifies. Not in obvious ways, not with chaos or crisis, but with subtle distractions, quiet temptations, seemingly harmless opportunities. The enemy does not attack your wallet. He attacks your wisdom. The enemy does not sabotage your bank account. He sabotages your boundaries. Because if he can drain your discipline, he doesn't need to touch your dollars. Hear this clearly. The enemy would rather you be rich and reckless than wealthy and wise. Because reckless wealth collapses, but wise wealth builds kingdoms. And so, when the transfer begins, you must become vigilant. Not paranoid, vigilant. Not fearful, aware. Because the greatest threat to abundance is not lack, it is distraction. Distraction disguised as opportunity. Distraction disguised as connection. Distraction disguised as validation. When God raises you, room begins to open. But not every room is righteous. Not every room is safe. Not every room carries destiny. Some rooms exist to drain you, not develop you. Some voices exist to flatter you, not fortify you. Some alliances exist to access your wealth, not align with your purpose. This is why silence is not secrecy. It is spiritual strategy. Silence protects you from premature exposure. Discernment protects you from parasitic relationships. Boundaries protect you from emotional bankruptcy. You must guard your peace, your focus, your intimacy with God, your clarity of assignment, your financial stewardship, your circle, your conversations, and your motives. Because wealth amplifies everything. It amplifies generosity, but it also amplifies pride. It amplifies wisdom, but it also amplifies impulse. It amplifies character, but it also exposes corruption. This is why heaven tests you in silence, before it trusts you in success. Let me speak from experience. There was a time I mistook access for acceptance. Doors opened. People applauded. I entered rooms I prayed for, only to realize some rooms were traps wrapped in opportunity. Influence without discernment is dangerous, because not everyone who claps for you cares for you. Not everyone who celebrates your elevation can steward your vulnerability. Some want proximity to your blessing, not partnership with your purpose. I learned the hard way that the higher you rise, the more selective you must become, not because you think you are above others, but because you understand the weight you carry. You are not protecting ego. You are protecting assignment. You are not avoiding people. You are avoiding sabotage. This is why the chosen must master the art of a guarded yes and the discipline of a holy no. Because you cannot invest in everything. You cannot partner with everyone. You cannot explain your vision to those who lack spiritual eyes. Your yes must be precious. Your yes must be aligned. Your yes must be strategic. Because one wrong yes can delay destiny. One wrong yes can drain resources. One wrong yes can scatter focus. Hell doesn't have to destroy you. It just has to distract you. That is why divine wealth demands boundaries. Boundaries with people. Boundaries with time. Boundaries with spending. Boundaries with ambition. Not to restrict you, but to preserve you. Anointed one, listen closely. Wealth without boundaries becomes bondage. But wealth with boundaries becomes freedom. Freedom to choose purpose. Freedom to elevate others. Freedom to decline distractions. Freedom to build legacy. Heaven's blessing is not meant to cage you. It is meant to commission you. Commission you to feed the hungry, empower the overlooked, build the broken, strengthen the weary, fund the forgotten, establish justice, fortify the faithful. Because wealth is not just financial, it is functional. You will be tested not by lack, but by options. Many can endure suffering, few can endure success. Because success demands discipline, success demands discretion, success demands humility. When you had nothing, prayer was survival. When you have abundance, prayer must become strategy. When you had little, giving was sacrifice. When you have plenty, giving must become stewardship. When you lacked, you depended on God. When you prosper, you must remain dependent willingly. That is the quiet test. Can you stay surrendered when you have options? Can you stay grounded when you have influence? Can you stay reverent when you have resources? The enemy whispers, you don't need God anymore. But heaven whispers, you need God more now than ever. Because success without surrender is a setup for collapse. But success with surrender becomes unstoppable. Chosen one, the wealth coming to you is not fragile, but you must still guard it. Guard it from pride. Guard it from impulse. Guard it from comparison. Guard it from counterfeit alignment. Because you are not just rising, you are being refined. Not just blessed, but trusted. Not just elevated, but established. And the establishment requires wisdom, discipline, discernment, and devotion. Chosen one, now that you stand at the threshold of elevation, there is something heaven needs you to understand. Abundance is not merely received, it is maintained. Anyone can celebrate the blessing. Few can sustain it. Even fewer can multiply it. Because the breakthrough is not the end, it is the beginning. It is the inauguration of stewardship, the commencement of responsibility, the activation of legacy. You are not just stepping into wealth, you are stepping into governance. Governance over your finances, governance over your habits, governance over your emotions, governance over your decisions, governance over your influence. The blessing coming to you is not chaotic. It is strategic. It is precise. It is purposeful. And purpose requires structure. Structure requires discipline. Discipline requires identity. Because money without identity leads to insecurity. Money without purpose leads to waste. Money without wisdom leads to bondage. But money aligned with calling, that becomes legacy. That becomes generational transformation. See, chosen one. Money is not the miracle. You are. The blessing is not the proof of your identity. Your identity is the proof of why you were chosen to carry the blessing. The wealth isn't coming to define you. It's coming because you already endured. What qualifies you to hold it? You survived seasons that tried to break you. You endured years where nothing made sense. You prayed when others mocked. You remained faithful when the evidence was invisible. You kept sowing when no harvest was in sight. Those seasons were not punishment. They were preparation. Because now, the wealth will not corrupt you. It will confirm you. Not confirm your ego, but confirm your assignment. Not confirm your status, but confirm your stewardship. The world sees money as status. Heaven sees money as strategy. The world sees wealth as luxury. Heaven sees wealth as leverage. The world sees riches as reward. Heaven sees riches as responsibility. This shift, this supernatural transfer, is not casual. It is not convenient. It is covenant. You are being entrusted, not indulged. So understand, true divine prosperity is not about what you acquire, but about what you activate. People measure wealth in what they purchase. Heaven measures wealth in what you build, and what you birth, and what you bless. Because in this next season, your generosity will preach, your humility will teach, your discipline will testify. There is a maturity forming in you that money cannot counterfeit. Hear me, your calling is too sacred to be shallow. Your influence is too valuable to be wasted. Your purpose is too costly to be casual. That's why heaven delayed, not to deny you, but to develop you. You prayed for breakthrough. God built capacity. You prayed for wealth. He formed wisdom. You prayed for doors. He forged discernment. Because what is coming to you requires shoulders strong enough to carry blessing without breaking integrity. Chosen one, wealth is not the ultimate test. Character is. The enemy is not intimidated by your abundance. He is intimidated by your alignment. Anyone can get rich, but only the chosen can be entrusted to carry riches without corruption. You are not being called to simply keep wealth. You are being called to command wealth, not for vanity, but for vision, not for consumption, but for commission. Your finances will fund deliverance, education, missions, restoration, protection, rebuilding, revival. You will not just buy things, you will build things. You will not just accumulate, you will activate. Your hands will no longer be symbols of lack, they will become channels of overflow. But hear this, before wealth touches your hands, it must transform your heart, because heaven does not release abundance to those who idolize it. Heaven releases abundance to those who can weaponize it as a tool for change. The greatest danger in prosperity is not greed, it is forgetfulness. When your pantry is full, will you remember the nights you had nothing? When the deal closes, will you remember the seasons where every door slammed shut? When people begin to applaud, will you remember the years you stood alone? When increase comes, will you still rise early to seek the secret place? This is the refining fire of blessing, not to test what you have, but to test who you become. And when you pass this test, wealth becomes more than numbers. It becomes language. It becomes legacy. It becomes leverage. It becomes evidence of what heaven invested in you long before earth recognized you. And when you walk into this next season, do not walk like a beggar who received. Walk like a steward who was chosen, a steward who knows, I was refined for this. I was prepared for this. I was purposed for this. I was anointed for this. Your abundance is not accidental. It is appointed, not random. Scheduled, not coincidence. Kairos. The same way the prophet wrote in Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1, to everything there is a season. Your season of preparation is closing, and your season of stewardship is beginning. Chosen one, as we enter this final segment, understand this. The blessing that is coming to you is not merely personal, it is generational. You are not just being positioned for prosperity, you are being positioned for impact. Heaven did not choose you so you could simply experience comfort. Heaven chose you so you could transform atmosphere, shift destinies, and rewrite generational narratives. You are the first in your lineage to break cycles, the first to walk in wisdom instead of survival, the first to build instead of borrow, the first to master instead of beg, the first to steward instead of struggle. You are not inheriting a blessing. You are becoming the architect of inheritance. And inheritance is not about money alone. It is about mindset. It is about discipline. It is about identity. It is about alignment. Because wealth is fragile in the hands of the unhealed, but it becomes unstoppable in the hands of the surrendered. This is why heaven took time developing you. Others rose fast. You rose slow. Others seemed to skyrocket. You seemed to stagnate. Others went viral. You went silent. But what was slow to them was strategic to God. Fast growth creates shallow roots. Shallow roots cannot survive storms. But deep roots endure. And you, chosen one, are rooted in discernment, rooted in humility, rooted in character, rooted in truth. So, when the wind comes, you will bend, but you will not break. And when the blessing comes, you will rise, but you will not rot. Because this next level is not built for the proud. It is built for the prepared. The prepared do not chase applause. They chase assignment. The prepared do not cling to recognition. They cling to revelation. The prepared do not value platform. They value purpose. This is why heaven hid you. Hiddenness was not punishment. Hiddenness was preservation. When people overlooked you, God was overshadowing you. When they underestimated you, God was investing in you. When they rejected you, God refined you. Because He was not preparing you for a moment, but for a mantle. And the mantle that rests upon you requires maturity. Not the maturity of age, but the maturity of obedience. Not the maturity of knowledge, but the maturity of surrender. Not the maturity of pride, but the maturity of purity. And now, because you endured the hidden place, heaven can trust you with the visible place. Not to flaunt wealth, but to steward it. Not to boast in success, but to bless others with it. Not to magnify self, but to magnify purpose. Because wealth without mission is just money. But wealth with mission becomes ministry. It becomes movement. It becomes momentum. And your momentum will not stop with you. Your obedience today will become the overflow tomorrow. For children yet unborn, your discipline today will become deliverance tomorrow. For families yet unseen, your wisdom today will become wealth tomorrow. for generations yet unspoken. This is the kind of prosperity that heaven honors, not prosperity that flaunts, prosperity that funds, not prosperity that hoards, prosperity that heals, not prosperity that inflates ego, prosperity that ignites purpose. This chosen one is why the silence was sacred. This is why the waiting was long. This is why the preparation was painful. Because heaven was not building a millionaire. Heaven was building a mantle bearer, a carrier of kingdom currency, a custodian of divine resources, a guardian of generational breakthrough. You will walk in prosperity without being possessed by it. You will handle influence without being hollowed by it. You will rise in visibility without losing your vision. Because prosperity is not the point, purpose is. And purpose requires a posture, gratitude over greed, discipline over desire, stewardship over status, silence over showmanship, obedience over opportunity. This is the foundation of sustainable wealth. This is the structure of supernatural abundance. This is the system of kingdom prosperity. And now heaven says, it is time for the seeds you planted in secret, to produce where everyone can see. Time for the tears you shed in silence, to water the fields of your future. Time for the prayers you whispered alone, to echo into generational blessing. Time for the doors once closed, to swing open without effort. Time for the inheritance once delayed, to be delivered. Time for the wealth once restrained, to be released. Because you are not receiving riches, you are receiving responsibility. You are receiving restoration. You are receiving revelation. You are receiving rain. This is not just about money. It is about mantle. It is not just about increase. It is about influence. It is not just about finance. It is about foundation. So, walk in this next season with reverence. Walk with restraint. Walk with wisdom. Walk with worship. Walk with awareness. And when people ask, how did you do it? You will not need to boast. Your fruit will answer. Your peace will testify. Your humility will preach. Your consistency will explain. Your posture will reveal. Because what you are stepping into was not luck. It was not coincidence. It was covenant. And covenant does not collapse. It continues. It carries. It multiplies. Chosen one, your silent season is ending. Your stewardship season is beginning. The mantle is here. The weight is here. The calling is here. The blessing is here. And heaven declares, you are ready. You have been chosen. You have been refined. You have been entrusted. Now, carry it. Chosen one, as we draw this message to a close, let your spirit recognize what heaven has already begun. This is not a future promise. This is a present shift. The mantle has been placed. The transfer has been activated. You stand in your Kairos moment, the divinely appointed hour, where preparation meets purpose and silence becomes strategy. May the Lord seal this season over you, not with noise, but with knowing. May your steps be ordered, your motives refined, your heart anchored, and your hands strengthened to carry what is holy. May humility guard your rise, discernment protect your circle, and wisdom govern every decision as increase unfolds. You are not stepping into wealth alone. You are stepping into alignment. You are stepping into stewardship. You are stepping into legacy. And heaven has declared you ready. Walk forward with quiet confidence, anointed one. Walk in reverence, not rush. In purpose, not pride. In clarity, not confusion. The same God who sustained you in lack will sustain you in overflow. If this word confirmed what your spirit already sensed, Share your Amen in the comments as a witness not for validation but for agreement. And if you feel led, subscribe so you remain connected to every word heaven releases in this season. Until we meet again, chosen one, stay grounded, stay obedient, stay expectant. The transfer has begun. Carry it well.